What's up, Raiders? Gestel coming at you with the newest fusion, Mr. Bambus Fourleaf, just announced today. We're going to take a deep dive into his kit, take a look what he's got. Is it worth going for this fusion or not? I think we'll be able to hopefully decide it by the end of this video. Stay tuned. Let's check out the man Bambus. Bambus. We'll go with Bambus. Alright, so what's my man Bambus doing? He is a legendary support magic affinity skinwalker. Pretty awesome looking dude. First panda in the game. I think people love pandas. They're obviously super cute. They got the whole movie, Kung Fu Panda, you know, whatever. Who doesn't like pandas? I think I would much rather run into a panda than like a grizzly bear, for sure. But that's a whole nother matter. Alright, so what's my man Bambus doing? I kinda went through this quickly in my Rate Today video earlier. But I want to do a little more deep dive, kind of dig through each ability here and see if it's worth your time. Fusions are difficult. They did call it a fusion, so that I would say at least you're going to have to collect the epic, an epic, or there might be multiple epics, and then fuse that into Bambus. But they could also have it where it's the true fusion, where it's the rares that fuse into the epic, and then the epics that fuse into the legendary. So I guess we'll see that. I don't know, when a calendar comes out. I guess maybe we'll get the calendar the next day or two, and then we'll really know. And obviously, I'll bring that to you in Rate Today, and we'll go through what will be best for you on the calendar. But what's my man gonna do for us? What's he gonna do for your account? What's he gonna do for my account? Is he going to be good early game, mid game, late game? Let's dive into it. Let's check him out. This is the second champion that did take 2 pages to put his abilities in. Valkonen was the first. Valkonen is still a fairly scarce champion. I've only encountered him, I think, twice in Live Arena. One time he destroyed me. The second time I was able to get him. But he's interesting, obviously. But if you have 2 pages, that means there's a lot you got to put down, right? And there is a lot to this guy's kit. He's got a ton going on. The major thing is after each of his active abilities, his A1, his A2, his A3, they all say the same thing at the end. Finally, places a sleep debuff on this champ for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be blocked or resisted. So similar, I guess, to Gerbtuck, where he's throwing the poisons out. This guy instead is sleeping himself. I guess pandas sleep a lot. I honestly don't know a lot about pandas. I guess they sleep a lot, so maybe it makes sense, I guess. But why does he sleep himself? Okay, it's all about his passive, right? Sleeping Sage, that's his passive. The passive effect has a 50% chance of transferring any debuff placed on the ally to this champion while they are under a sleep debuff. Will not transfer, block, revive, stun, freeze, fear, true fear, provoke, or petrification. At the start of this champ's turn, remove any sleep debuffs from this champ. The active effect transfers all debuffs from this champ to the enemy with the highest resistance if a sleep debuff was removed from this champ by this champion's passive skill. This effect cannot be resisted. Now, obviously this is huge, right? Pretty much any of the non-CC debuffs will go to Mithralas, Sifis, Duchesses, anyone with a ton of resist, UDKs nowadays. You can transfer all of your debuffs, minus, obviously, the block, revive, the stun, the freeze, the fear, true fear, provoke, petrification. Transfer them all over to that champion. Typically, a champion with high resist is not going to have any debuffs. Now you're able to throw them all on there. You're also removing them from your teammates. Now the downside to this, it has to be asleep when all this occurs, right? He has to be asleep to be able to get that 50% chance to transfer. He's also got to be asleep when he basically starts his new turn. So if he's not asleep, say the other opponent hits him, or there's an AoE that hits him, wakes him up, this doesn't take place. It's almost like the counter effect to anyone else that you sleep, right? Anyone you sleep, you avoid them. You want them to lose their turn. Here, you want to wake them up. So it's a strange dynamic. It's interesting, and I think it's gonna be fairly interesting in arena. Like I feel like he seems to be an arena champ. This could change with new content coming out in the future. But for me right now, I feel like this alone makes him very much a arena champ. It just makes things very interesting, especially against like a Sify who's tossing out sleeps all day. You might get waken up and then she'll throw the sleep out, right? So interesting champ. I think he would. I think the passive makes him very interesting in live arena. Let's look at the rest of the abilities to see if it kind of holds true. The A1 Bamboo Splinter attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance that books up to 75 of placing the big decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Will attack all enemies instead if the initial target is under 2 or more debuffs. So could be an AoE. AoE decreased defense is pretty big. This attack has it's a 40% chance, so that books up to 65 of placing decreased speed. So you do lose the 10% there, but still placing it for 2 turns, and then obviously places a sleep debuff on this champ for 1 turn, cannot be resisted. Now, I would say the other place where this sounds like it would be interesting, obviously AoE decreased speed on the A1, Hydra. That's what I would be thinking. Um, Decreased speed, super strong against Hydra. This obviously isn't a guaranteed decreased speed. It's also not a guaranteed AoE, so it's not necessarily reliable, but would be helpful. I mean, A1s, you're probably not going to get a 100% chance to do a decreased speed debuff like that, especially in an AoE. So 65% chance, and they have to be under debuffs. It's a bit conditional. It wouldn't be my first choice, but it's certainly a reason to look at him for Hydra. Now, for Arena, decreased speed is solid, but basically gives them a chance of getting sheeped. So, not necessarily the best, but it's an A1. Most A1s are kind of write-offs anyway. So at least this one's fairly good in an AoE. Maybe in like a stun set wouldn't be so bad either. Maybe like in progressing through Doom Tower or something like that. All right, the A2 Grove Tender attacks all enemies. Before attacking, places a shield buff on all allies equal to 30% of their max HP for 2 turns. Also increases duration of all buffs on the allies by 1 turn. After attacking, has a 75% chance of decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn, even if the attack lands as a weak hit. Also increases the value of any shield buffs on all allies by 2% for each enemy buff that had the duration decreased by this skill. And then, obviously, places a sheep debuff on this champ for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be blocked or resisted. Alright, let's break this down. Kind of 2 parts here. AoE is always good. Placing a shield is always good. Placing the shield based on allies max HP, not necessarily the best. HP for your nukers are typically going to be pretty low. That means it's going to be a really small shield on them, and those are the people you typically are trying to protect. So, that's not huge. I think if they could have made that based on his HP, his max HP, that would have made us definitely a lot stronger. You know, he is in a void, so I would imagine if this was a void champ, maybe they would have done that. He is non-void, being a magic champ. Then I guess I could see why they did it that way. But he also increases duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn. That's a strong move. Not many champs that do it. So certainly helpful. Certainly helpful in PvE, and I would say could be helpful in PvP as well. Again, depending on how big the shields are and what other buffs might be on your champs. Get an extra turn on those in PvP and live arena or regular classic. Certainly going to help you out. Then after attacking has that 100% chance when booked of decreasing the duration of enemy buffs. That in arena is super big. Think Helicasts with their annoying block damages. Think about you know, increase attack, increase defense. You know, if they're on 1 turn remaining, then those are all just removed from the enemy. Can be really strong. Obviously, could be very strong in PvE as well. So, you know, this champ, as much as I kind of, you know, like I'm very into arena right now, very into live arena. So I always tend to try to almost force a champ into live arena. And that's like where I think first, will it work, will it not work? I think all these abilities so far would be strong in live arena, not necessarily what you're looking for, but could help you out. Let's take a look at the A3 Dream Sight. Targets and enemies. So one enemy first places 50% increased attack, or increased accuracy, excuse me, and a 50% increased attack. There you go, got ahead of myself. On all allies for 2 turns. Then has a 100% chance when booked of placing Enfeeble. Now this is personally why I think he's probably an arena champ, but let's finish this out. Placing Enfeeble debuff on the target enemy for 2 turns. The Enfeeble debuff cannot be placed on bosses. Also has a 75% 100% chance when booked of placing the big decrease accuracy debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Finally places the sleep debuff on this champ for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be blocked or resisted. Alright, so this is a single target. The single target has a 100% chance of dropping Enfeeble. Now, Enfeeble is not available on any other champion right now. It is only on the Shogun's boss, right? So getting Enfeeble, and now Enfeeble, basically, if you have Enfeeble, it's an automatic weak hit. So no crits, no big damage from your damage dealers, you're weak hitting. And when you weak hit, like say you take a Rotos and you're trying to swing real hard into a UDK and you weak hit, man, it does not feel good. There's no damage that comes out of those weak hits. So throwing that Enfeeble onto a damage dealer could be insanely strong. Now, obviously, you got to be able to land it. The enemy cannot have, you know, block debuffs on. Couldn't be veiled, whatever it is. So you need to be able to land that Enfeeble, which could be difficult. But I feel like this is a champ that you're going to want to build fast, so maybe you would build them fast to get that Enfeeble off before you get nuked. You know, put them in there with kind of a speed comp, an RB or Siffy, however you're running your speed teams. I think this ability could be very strong, especially in arena, especially in live arena. Think about it against Georgids. Think about, I don't know, man, so many places. Taurus, like any nuker. Drop this on a nuker, reduce their damage, stay alive longer. The other thing is say you do the A3 first, right? You drop the Enfeeble, then you come over here, or you also put the increase accuracy, increase attack. So you lead with your A3, then you go to the A2, and increase the duration of the buffs that you just placed and what other buffs might be there. And then you're decreasing the buffs on the enemy team leaving that enfeeble on there and losing the other buffs, and basically they become, they lose that increased attack or lose that increased defense, whatever might be benefiting them to do more damage. You also put that enfeeble on there, you're going to be pretty well protected. So, I don't know. I'm not saying that this is like the savior of live arena. I feel, or arena in general. I feel like he could be strong there. Obviously you got to get him, play test him, build him, see how fast you can make him, how tanky he might be. I don't tend to love the support role. Support's tough because if he was HP based, you build him with a lot of HP, then he's doing damage based on HP, and it kind of makes sense. Same with defense. Support, they're doing normally, and not that you really care about damage with this guy, but he may not be as tanky, whatever it is. I mean, you obviously still going to build him with a lot of HP for arena, and I would say speed, probably accuracy, but that's that doesn't mean he's like just going to be a complete meta game changer. So I don't know, he's interesting. Also, the aura is increased ally HP in all battles by 25. A solid aura, anything all battles is great. But personally, my main account, I go for every champ. No reason not to. I'm at the point where I'm getting enough shards through clan boss and everything else that I can pretty much go through fusions fairly easily. On my free-to-play account, now this is where the decision has to come in. Is this champion really going to make a difference on my free-to-play account? I don't feel like he's going to. He's exciting, he's super cool looking, he's got great abilities, but early mid game, I always call myself maybe mid game now, as I have an Ultra Nightmare team, and I'm starting to progress a little bit more into Faction Wars and Doom Tower and such. Kind of bordering on moving into the later game. He would maybe help me progress through Doom Tower with the Enfeeble, running into any of the Mortu Macabres. And the buff duration would certainly be helpful there on my free-to-play. I'm kind of talking myself into him. I kind of feel like he's going to be very good later in the game. Anyone that's bringing increase accuracy, decrease accuracy, I feel like he's going to have a place in the game at some point. They're going to continue to come out with champs. They're going to continue to come out with bosses that have very high resistance, or where you're going to need a ton of accuracy. And being able to increase it by 50% would really enable you to do those new bosses, the new dungeons, whatever it might be that's coming out. So my before even being able to play him, just based off the kit, my recommendation would be, if you can go for it, pretty much if you can go for any fusion, I would say go for him. He may be hanging out in your vault for a while, but there probably will come a time where he will be very, very strong. And, there just may not be... there may be places that he could be used that I haven't even thought of yet. Or anyone else may have thought of. Like, stuff just, as new content happens, as they change things up, as they bring in new champs, as they nerf or buff things here or there, you never know. You never know where a champion's going to be really strong. So my recommendation is, if you can do it, definitely go for it. If you're gonna miss him, I don't think it's gonna be the end of the world. I don't think it'll be, I don't think he's a game changer for anyone's account. He's super interesting, he's super, super cool looking. I love the aesthetics, obviously Raid does a great job with pretty much all their champions in that matter. But in terms of like a new class champion, even an Emic, some people don't love Emic, but he did bring Unkillable to a bunch of people who didn't have Unkillable comps for Demon Lord Clan Boss, my free-to-play account included. It's a champ that will probably be pretty strong in your account at some point in this game. I just don't know when. So there you go. That is our man Bambus Fourleaf. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this kit. Do you think he's going to be meta changing? Do you think he's just going to be average? I'd love to see it. Leave your comments in the section below. But that's all I got for you on the Bambus Fourleaf. Till the next one, have an awesome night and take care.